We're here right now with the legendary music producer, DJ extraordinaire.
E Smoove, aka Praise Cats, and that other name I use sometimes. I am a DJ first and foremost, and producer and remixer and a songwriter.
Just to kind of put that out there, you were also nominated this year for Remix of the Year.
Yes. Didn't win. Congratulations to Jock, but we didn't win. We'll go get you next year.
But I mean, as far as that, you were nominated for what?
For Bob Sinclair World. Hold on.
Bob Sinclair. We see you, Chris.
Yeah.
All right.
House music in the Grammys.
You can't beat that.
I
don't care who it is.
Right.
It could be DJ.
Absolutely. Represent.
Smack it up, flip it, rub it. Oh no.
He's working tonight, right?
Yeah, we going to see him tonight. He playing with Steve tonight.
And Feather and what's up, girl?
Feather and Miss Pepper. We see you too.
I've done like everybody from Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, and Excess, to the other side, Masters at Work, Dajay, Kim English, and everybody in between, I guess. Mary J. Blige. Go down the list. I'd like to think of, I'm a producer, and this might be reaching, but in respect to like Quincy Jones and Nile Rodgers, and they didn't really have genres that they produced for. They just produced good music, and that's what I try and pattern myself.
So you produce from a field, or you produce from just what's hot right now, or like how are you producing? I mean,
both. I think every producer would love to just be able to produce what he loves, but in order to work, you got to be conscious of what's hot and what works, what's single material, picking the right songs, all that. As dance music became more accessible through the technology and whatever, it's a whole lot easier to do a dance track, and I think that the public isn't educated enough to know the difference between somebody just throwing something together on Reason or Juicy Loops or whatever that stuff is called versus the real deal. Back in the day, you had to have a 2-inch machine to record. You had to have you had to have a real deal. So in a way it was restrictive, because a kid would have to have, like, I had to connect Steve Hurley, so I could start something, So back in the day, a kid couldn't do that. Now a kid can start making a track in his bedroom. The only problem is every kid is making a track in his bedroom, so the stuff, saturated. Whatever there's more of, the public will appreciate what there's less of. So if there's more people that make tracks with beats or whatever and all that stuff, then that's when they're going to appreciate musicians. That's when they're going to appreciate artistry, songwriting, and all of that. So we'll go through a period where, because the people that make the decisions don't play vocals, the people that make a lot of decisions don't use vocals, and it'll be flooded with that. And then the public will say, oh, okay, I can make that on my PlayStation. So I don't appreciate that. I have probably several points of reference for Steve in my career. And that's, first of all, on 87th Street. We had a McDonald's they used to call Arnold's, that all the quote-unquote cool kids used to hang out at, right? And from all the parties that produce everything that we do now, those people were there, the DJs, the kids that were into it, the kids that promoted it, everybody, And Steve brought a little Casio keyboard. This is crazy. That's the good part, man. I am absolutely a fan, as well as, whatever. And I remember him bringing this Casio keyboard and playing whatever song was hot out at the time, A-E-I-O-U or something like that. It was something like that, right? And playing it on the keyboard.
At the McDonald's?
At the McDonald's. It was a little keyboard, you put batteries in it, the whole thing. But the hot, and it had like them, and the beat, and he's playing the thing, whatever he's playing, whatever, right? And that was so big because we're playing these records, we're playing all these Italian disco records, German records, the Kraftwerk stuff, all this stuff, and to actually see somebody play it, was big for us. It was almost like, I imagine what it's like, right when rock was transitioning, and to see, you don't have to have like a 40-piece string section to make a record. You can actually just plug in a guitar and start jamming, and that was the equivalent of it. You know what I'm saying? That was nuts. And to watch that become from that to, Jesse and Steve and those guys making records to next thing you know, we mixing Michael Jackson records. You know what I'm saying? When I was in Columbia, I had, I'm not gonna say who he is, a teacher, well-respected Chicago engineer, that said, you'll never mix a Michael Jackson record that way. And like, hello, hey, I got 3 under my belt, how about that? So, it's just for, us as a scene to have, you start from where you know nothing about. I told my father I wanted to be a music producer. He was like, a friend at work had a studio. He's like, he's still working at work with me, so I don't know about that. You know what I'm saying? So to have those things be accessible through somebody like Steve, who had the vision to say, man, I can play this, It's in the song, man. And that inspiration comes from God, comes from whatever you believe in. That's not something that you can sit down and say, I'm about to make this hit, I'm just about to create, and whatever happens, happens. If you guys appreciate it, that's love. If not, on to the next record. And then, I have to give props to Latanza, too, as a vocalist. I mean, to me, she is a house music vocalist. She's not the R&B vocalist that's just doing a track for some money. She's not that chick that can't sing at all. That's like, that's the only way I can get in. You know what I'm saying? She's somebody who can sing and has had a major label deal and the whole thing, and chooses to do house music. You can't beat that. That's that's Barbara Tucker. That's Dajay. That's all of the greats. And I don't want to be one of those heads that's all, you ain't like back in the day, such and such and such. It ain't never gonna be like back in the day. You can't go forward looking in the rearview mirror. What I hope is that we will grow to a place where the fans, the DJs, the record companies, the artists, everybody involved gets more on a common ground as far as just understanding and loving the music, so that all of those things that divide us, BPM divides us, geographical location divides us, a record label divides us. So many different things take away from the scene when I think, it's so, dance music is so huge and underappreciated, When you think about a major corporation like Mitsubishi, wasn't it Mitsubishi that had the Days Go By? You know what I'm saying? Chooses a dance music song to market. They can choose anything. They have a limited budget. They can buy anybody's song. They can buy P. Diddy's song. They can buy 50 Cent's song. They can buy Jay-Z's song. Maybe not Jay-Z, but anybody else, right? They can buy anything they want, and they chose, some obscure dance music band. That says a lot. That's a car. What does that car have to do with dance music? What does a car have to do with being in the club at 2 o'clock in the morning? You know what I'm saying? For music that's supposed to be, gay music, for music that's supposed to be not commercially viable, so they don't play it on the radio like they should. For music that doesn't sell, so when it's time, to cut our deals, we're dealing with pennies trying to make records that compete with albums that have $1 million+ budgets, That's what I hope they recognize.
They use that We Got a Love thing, which you wrote with Jerry and Chantay, and I produced. They use that for the Envoy commercial a few years ago.
Yeah.
Just another example of that.
Another example, I mean,
it just gave, that song just had a feeling that moved somebody at that company that's like, hey, we have to have that song.
Absolutely. And it seems like they always tend to go to dance music for that feeling, or some hybrid of dance music,
And what do you think about just, again, in closing, S&S Records and, and Steve and I putting this whole project together, and just where do you see it going, and where do you see this particular movement leading, in the future for all of these guys? Because you know how it is. If we had a nickel for every time we told one another we were gonna hook up and do something, we'll all be nickelaires. So I mean, to get all of these guys, yourself, Maurice Joshua, Jesse Saunders, Wayne Williams, I mean the list, K. Alexi, C's, Bad Boy Bill, I mean the list goes on and on and on. Fast Daddy, a Stacy Kid, I mean just all of these guys, all of these talented house music producers and moguls, to get them all on one project. Like, what's your feelings about it? Like, we want to know people's feelings about this whole project in general.
I think, first of all, it's great for for the fans to see, because fans think that's what goes on anyway. They think that, you know, I'm kicking it with Steve and we DJing at the such and such, you know, tomorrow, and then, you know, Maurice is showing up, we're doing the after hours party there, and then we're leaving there going to do a remix, and Dajay is coming in to, you know, blow something on that, on top of that, and, you know, just all of these different combinations. And, you know, to a certain extent, that's the way it should be. In reality, you know, it's not, but that's through music, through a project like this, that's what it becomes, you know, as it should be. You know, back in the day, once again, not looking in the rearview mirror, but back in the day, you would see a party and it would have Farley, Jesse, Steve, Andre Hatchett, gotta mention him, right? All on one bill. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't a party that you had to pay $50 to get in. It wasn't a party that was gonna have, you know, 20,000 people in it. You know, it was a party that's gonna have 500 people in it. You know, and maybe you were paying $5 before 11. You know what I'm saying? Right. But it takes it back to that where, you know, you take away the companies, you take away the brand, and you take away, you know, we're all adults. We're not 19 anymore. So we got lives, you know. But you take away all of those things and it takes it back to those kids throwing a party in the loft. Right. And that's what I hope that people get from this project is, man, those guys just putting the project out there and, you know, showing their thing, you know. Right.
Now you bring up the loft, and I had to mention this. I mean, what do you think about the state of dance music and the rave scene in general? Because, you know, that was huge. You know, the rave scene was an outlet for a lot of DJs as well as producers, because our production was being, you know, filtered through that channel, and that was starting to gain notoriety and awareness for our particular genre of music. You know, hence the underground. You know what I mean? So that's why a lot of people. I mean, I got my start, you know, in the rave scene. If it wasn't for like the underground scene and the warehouses, nobody would have knew who I was. That gave me the opportunity to open up on a bigger platform. The more established DJs and producers were playing the 200, 300 people clubs. I was playing the 2,000, 3,000 people warehouse. Right. You know what I mean? So I'm reaching a bigger audience. Right. So for that, you're like, what do you think? You know, because, you know, they shut it down and the whole crack house law. And
kids are always gonna have an underground, and what's underground always pushes up overground, and is replaced by a new set of kids and a new set of underground. I think our challenge is always finding a way to reconnect back to that underground. And, you know, once you get caught up once again in being an adult, you know, adult stuff comes into play. You think, oh, I can't do that, and oh, you need a liquor license for that, and you need this, and all the excuses come up rather than the solutions. And kids just do it, you know, they just do it, you know. And that's the part our challenge is to stay connected to that all the time.
We don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
So you hear that, people? Just do it.
Just do it. Should we say no?
No. They're gonna have to cut a check for that one. They're gonna have to cut a check for that one. CTC. we can't expose that brand at all. That's what we're about, branding. See, we had a conversation earlier about branding. Whole 2.5 hour conversation.
S&S just do it. Just did it.